Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Franchising Matters video series brought to you by Reshift Media. My name is Steve Bjors, and I'll be your host. Today, we're going to be talking about the algorithm changes that Google is making in March of 2024. And here to join us and talk about that today is Brad Abbott, who's a Vice President of Search for Reshift Media. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So why don't we jump straight in? So Google's been making quite a number of changes. I think it started in February, but mostly impacting March. You want to talk a bit about what they're doing and how it's impacting companies?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an exciting time to be an internet marketer. Google has begun to roll out the latest algorithm core update this past March 5th. So that's a core update. It's larger than the updates that they make along the way. And they're saying that this one is going to be very impactful as it marks an evolution in how they identify the helpfulness of content.
And so this is rolling out over the course of all of March, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to take at least a month to roll out, and the purpose of the update is to reduce unhelpful, unoriginal content on search. Specifically, the update involves tuning the core ranking systems to better understand if web pages are A, unhelpful, B, have a poor user experience, and C, feel like they were created for search engines and not for people.
All right. So what they're trying to do is basically carve out the spam and have real web pages with real content ranking. Is that right?
That's correct. Absolutely. So the update particularly calls out a couple of things in regards of sites that are created primarily for search engines to match specific search queries. Like exact match domains was a big deal for a long time. Going to be hurting, I think, a lot of the time for especially for sites that are made purely for the ranking that comes along with that exact match domain. They've also nerfed expired domain abuse, where domains are purchased and then repurposed with the intentions of boosting rank for quote, low quality content. And another big part of the update is guest posting on non-relevant sites that have good search authority with the intention of capitalizing on that strong reputation is all going to be considered spam now. And I think this is a really big one that a lot of sites are going to miss. In fact, Google has even deferred the major effects of this part of the update until May 5th to give website owners who have engaged in this practice in the past time to make any changes needed ahead of the implementation of this update.
So to translate a couple of those there, so that last one, which is a big deal. So if you're a website that has a high quality domain, you've got good content, you're well ranked in Google, and someone's come along and sent one of those emails that we all get saying, "Hey, I want to be able to do a guest post on your site." If that content isn't of high quality and it isn't relevant to that particular audience, it's literally there to just try and get that high quality backlink. That's the type of content that Google's going after
Yeah, absolutely. So if any of our viewers, hi grandma, have a well-ranking site that allow guest posts, it's time to really dig in, audit that content to ensure that the content is high value for your audience.
So it's not that guest posting itself is bad. It's that guest posting clearly for the purposes of piggybacking off that site's domain authority is bad.
Absolutely. Now, removing that content is not necessarily going to help the rest of the content on the site rank higher, but having a large amount of the unhelpful pages could actually hurt your overall search authority. So better to remove it.
Okay. And the other piece you talked about there, I think is good news for everyone. So that's where someone basically purchases an expired domain or reuses an expired domain that has good search authority and basically just crams a bunch of content on there. One of the examples I'd use of this is if you have someone who's a politician and has a domain specific to their campaign or to their office, and they get a lot of traffic for a period of time, then they leave office. It was actually pretty common for people to buy that domain, throw a bunch of content on there with some backlinks, and try and piggyback off that authority for no reason whatsoever. So I think that's good news that Google's finally, they've always targeted that, but I guess they're explicitly going after that here, right?
Yeah, I think this update is really focused on targeting the low quality content. So high quality sites could end up seeing quite a benefit in the end.
Yeah. So if you're a high quality site, you're producing quality content, it's relevant to your readers. This isn't bad news for you then.
No, absolutely not.
Well, so let's talk about franchise companies. So we know franchise companies have very specific SEO needs, and we know that often it's a little difficult to get franchise companies to rank in the way that they want to rank on Google, I would say. So anything in this update you're worried about for franchise organizations?
Yeah, lots. So franchise websites can be a challenge from a content perspective, as we all know. Often each location in a franchise network has their own site or section of a website where they have the ability to modify and post content as they want. It's paramount that these franchisees get a brief education on search engine best practices so that what they do on their site doesn't negatively affect the entire network.
That's a good one. Yeah, for sure. Anything else?
Yeah, one of the large components of this is of the update is scaled content abuse. So this policy is against using automation to generate low quality, unoriginal content at scale with the goal of manipulating search rankings. Um, and this really feels like it's directly related to the boom in AI content writers like ChatGPT, Copilot, even Google's new Gemini. So the concern is that website owners will blindly leverage these tools to help create unique content in hopes of improving their search rankings. But Google's position on AI content shifted from it's spam, it breaks our guidelines, so like you absolutely cannot use it, which is not surprising considering Gemini, to the focus is on high quality content rather than how it's produced. So spammy AI content is text generated through automation without regard for quality of user experience, which is essentially saying using AI to produce content without a human QA process, right? So I think it's really, really important for especially franchise systems to not blindly produce content for the sake of ranking, and it really has to be, really put under the microscope from a QA process.
All right, so let's talk a bit about that. So as you said, we know that franchise organizations and SEO can be challenging. So it's really common for franchise companies to have a web page or a microsite for each of their locations. That'll have some information, maybe some services that the company provides. So it's a long-standing practice by franchise organizations to, either just duplicate their services across a bunch of locations, or in some cases they're rewriting it. But we all know in the first case where you've basically got the same service on every one of your locations, we already know Google views that as duplicate content, de-emphasizes it, or even doesn't even list it in their search rankings. So what I just heard you say, I think, is that Google's targeting producing content at scale. So now if I were to take that services content and I basically run it through ChatGPT or Copilot or what have you, and have the AI create me 100 versions of that same content, what I'm hearing is that Google's not going to look kindly on that. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, if you're going to be putting it in for that kind of scale to automate content purely for ranking, it's going to be a detriment to your website. Certainly, you can leverage these AI tools to help produce content and all that kind of stuff, but a human really should be, behind every step of the process in regards of, the prompt that's given to the AI, to evaluating the content that it produces and making edits as necessary.
Well, and one of the things we often do here at Reshift is we'll actually send a survey to the franchisees. So getting some local specific information. So tell us about, what's different about your services, or what's different about your clientele, or what's different about your location or your store or your staff or whatever it is. And if you can start to incorporate that local specific information to truly add value and truly make it locally specific, not just through the AI to spit out a different way of saying the same thing, that then kind of addresses what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's interesting because Google's specifically saying we don't want you to just use AI and scale the content. And again, franchise systems, even if you are doing that, you're clearly not a spammer. You're not trying to game the algorithm per se. What you're trying to do is differentiate your content enough so that it gets ranked, which is fair. But clearly, as a franchise organization, you could get kind of caught up in this ranking and this algorithm change. So you need to be careful with that. So if you're using AI to produce content at scale, it's not that Google's automatically going to, assess a penalty or, derank you or anything like that. But be aware that this algorithm change, which is a big one, is going straight at behaviors like that. So you certainly need to be aware. And as you're saying, Brad, this is an opportunity to maybe go through that content, have a human look at it, add some additional value. And at the end of the day, I think that's what Google's trying to say is if the content's actually valuable and it's actually differentiated for the location or differentiated for the audience for that location, okay, now it's legitimate.
Yeah, absolutely. So Google is touting this update should reduce the amount of low quality on search by as much as 40%.
That's big.
Yeah, it could be a huge opportunity for sites that have high quality content, people first content. They could really see a great improvement as those spammy results are removed. So, yeah.
Well, and I know the SEO community is obviously watching this very carefully. And my understanding is that there's been a fair amount of volatility people have been reporting as this algorithm change rolls out. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of sites that have been reporting a drop in traffic. Now, normally, when something like this happens, those are the ones that really bubble up to the top in regards to getting some press, right? Like, large drops and stuff like that. The important thing to remember here is that this update is still rolling out. So if you do happen to see any kind of fluctuations, positive or negative, you really have to just monitor and assess. You don't want to make any giant changes to your website based on a mid-month traffic change. You really need to wait until the entire algorithm is finished rolling out.
Okay. And so I know you've taken a look at Reshift clients. What are you seeing there, Brad? Anything you've seen that you would cite as indicating a big algorithm impact anywhere?
So far, we've seen some positive and negative fluctuations, but nothing super substantial. As you mentioned before, our focus really is on producing high quality content from the beginning. So we're encouraged that most of our sites should remain where they are or see an increase in traffic based on this update.
Okay, well that's good news. So any Reshift clients who are watching this, that's good news from Brad. And so, to sort of bring this all to a close, Brad, knowing that all these changes are happening and we're right in the middle of it, or mid-ish March right now, what should franchise companies be doing at this point?
Okay, number one, make sure somebody is monitoring the website stats. If you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's happening. Number two, don't panic or celebrate if you see a large fluctuation in March. This could, change again before the end of the month. So you really want to be careful there. And then number three is assess those impacts over the next couple of months and adjust from there. So wait till the core update is completely finished, and then assess what happened to your traffic, and then make any changes that are necessary.
I liked your bit about don't celebrate too early. So if the traffic spikes on March 21st, don't start popping the champagne just yet. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just have an internal woohoo and move on.
Well, and as you said, a big piece of that algorithm update's not even until April, right? In terms of the content contributors to websites, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The guest posting part of it. Yeah, we still have another easily 2 to 3 weeks before this update is completed. So yeah, hang on tight.
Yeah. So to reiterate, don't panic. Don't start making massive changes to your website unless you have a bunch of spammy content, in which case get on it. But if you're a high quality content producer, and if you're a franchise system that's put some work into your SEO, you're best to monitor, as you're saying, Brad. Keep an eye on what's going on. Don't make any drastic changes until the dust settles. What kind of mid to late April, I guess, or maybe even into May.
Yeah, I would say by the time late April comes around, everything should have settled by then. So yeah, late April, early May is about time to really assess what happened.
Okay, that's great. So obviously, we're going to keep an eye on it. If we see anything, we'll create another one of these posts. If any of you are out there seeing anything really positive or negative or just generally interesting, feel free to throw a comment in the comments there. Or if you're a Reshift client, feel free to reach out to Reshift Media. Sure, Brad would share more of his wisdom with you if you have any questions.
Yeah, even if you're not a client, reach out.
Yeah, Brad loves calls. It's all good. Thanks for everyone who watched. If you haven't already, I encourage you to click the like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our Franchising Matter video series and podcasts. And Brad, thanks for your insights. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on today to chat about this important search update. It's always a pleasure.